I hope you're enjoying the videos. I enjoy making them, and so I'm going to continue to do so. I'm actually speaking to you from the future, at least relatively, as far as the videos go. The first 2 episodes that I posted of this build are actually from about 2 years ago, and I have video kind of on and off a little bit from then until now. And when I first put it all together, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I didn't really have a plan. Where that leaves me is that I'm trying to piece stuff together and put a sort of story together to explain what I was doing and how it went, but it's very difficult. So here's where we're at. I've now got these 6-bolt axle stubs. There's those 2. This is a 6-bolt flange axle. I don't have my other axles in here, so I can't show how different they look. CVs seem to be in decent shape. They're axles, so I know they're gonna work for me. But the big point here is that I bought a diff. The carrier that I bought has internals for a 240SX. I had this 5-bolt system, which is actually the Z32, and I think it's the JDM diff as well. But you can just see how different these flanges are. These splines, I mean. These 2 go together, and those 2 go together. And you can tell how freaking different they are. So obviously these ones were never going to fit into the carrier that these ones go into. And so that was the problem I had, which is now sorted out because I have my axles and everything. So these 5-bolt flanges I don't need anymore, and that's awesome. These 5-bolt flanges I don't need anymore, and that's awesome.
These 5-bolt flanges I don't need anymore, and that's awesome.
That's one of my control arms with the bushing pressed out. Really all I've got left to do with the bushings is in the hubs. And I don't really know if I want to move all this stuff around, but there's a bunch of bushings. Here's one right there. There's 3 bushings in each hub that I have to press out still. And I've decided that I'm going to leave these ones in here. I think I talked about that already. These lower control arm bushings, they're staying in there because fuck it, I just don't want to deal with them. What I wanted to say is that in this episode, and I don't know how long it's going to take, I have to describe one of the most frustrating things that happened to me during the time that I was building this car. And actually I still am building the car, and the new footage that I've been putting together recently is a lot better, so stay tuned. Alright, so I've been working on the car most of today. It's been a frustrating day, had lots of troubles, but I'm going to make this video partially because I want to go over everything in my head right now, so may as well put it on tape. Here's where we're at today. First thing we did was push all of these rubber bushings out of the uprights, and that was actually fairly easy. So what we did is we used this thing, which is a ball joint installer, remover, or whatever, this C-clamp. And so we used that, and actually, for me, a 22mm socket is like the perfect outer diameter to fit where these are, and push them out. There's 3 of them in the upright here, so you can see 1, 2, 3. And we popped all them out with the ball joint tool, and that actually went pretty well. So we got off to a pretty good start. The other thing we were trying to do is put the axle stubs in this diff. Now I think I've made a couple of videos talking about the diff already, and I now have the correct axle stubs that go into the carrier.
Correct axle stubs.
But we had a problem, and the problem is that there are, on these axles, these little C-clips. I had this thing from when I took everything apart the last time. This snap ring itself must be incorrect for what we need to fit with these axles and with this carrier. And I'm really surprised that that's a thing. We tried to use it. This thing we actually installed. We slipped it inside. The diff, and there was no way to get this axle in. It would just jam against it inside there, kind of like this, and it would stop, and we couldn't get it in. We used like every means possible to jam that thing in there, and it just wouldn't go. What you're gonna see is me talking a lot about differentials and axle stubs, because this problem was insane and it took forever to figure out. I have the subframe down here, but I ended up not doing anything really with it. Got rid of all the guck and grease that I put in there to keep them from rusting. But it turns out that that doesn't really matter because they're... probably can't even see, but there's all these scratches on the inside from where I cut through this thing with a hacksaw. You can see how messed up the bottom is. That's where I cut it. I want to sand this off a little bit, and I didn't have any sandpaper or anything today, and I didn't grab any when I ran to the parts store. And of course you can see here on the uprights I did in fact install these bushings. So these are the energy bushings, and with the sleeves and everything in there. These things were an utter bitch to install. This is probably one of the hardest parts of this car build so far, is getting those things in there. It was a huge pain in the ass. What I used is this, and unfortunately I've taken everything apart now, but I used this this method basically as a press, sort of. It's like an axial press because the whole thing goes through the middle. I had this, minus that. I have this in here with a washer on it, and then the other side with a washer on it. And the bushing itself, actually this is a good example. Pretend this was the bushing here. I would have had it just like that, okay? And with a nut on the other side, and as you tighten it, it forces the bushing inside, and that's how we kind of installed them. Unfortunately, that was really difficult because these little things, these rubber things, would go sideways. They'd cock sort of go in a little bit sideways, and then you have to jam a screwdriver in the side basically to shove them in. I didn't get any pictures or video or anything because I was so frustrated doing it. Plus I have all this energy suspension lube on my hands and it's sticky as hell. This happened. I may not actually take this apart, but for some reason I got this. These are my ball joints that I was going to put in the back, and one of them's the wrong one. That's another problem to deal with. So I can't put the axles in here yet. My ball joint has to be replaced. I have to clean up the insides of the subframe mounts before I put them together. The only other thing, I guess, is I still have the... This is the subframe, or sorry, the sway bar mounts and bushing grommet things for the end links. That's it for today. There's actually another video that I posted about the time that I was doing this, because I actually needed to describe it in video form and post it on the forums so I could at least try to get the information that I learned out there. I wanted to try and help people if I could. With that said, if you've seen that video, or if you go into my previous videos, you can actually see the best short description of what I'm gonna go through in the video today, and it'll make everything kind of make sense. This is the other job that I was going to look at doing today, right here, and it doesn't look like I'm gonna do it at all, because it looks like a pain in the ass. This is the lower control arm, one side. I don't know which side this is off the top of my head. You can see that there are two bushings in this thing, and these bushings have the awesome the feature that there's a cap. Basically, you can see right here there's a ridge, and the end is a metal cap. This whole part right here. Yeah, it turns out that in order to get these bushings out, you pretty much have to do the same sort of stuff as I did with these, which is burn them, essentially. Set them on fire, get them to the point where you can cut a relief in the exterior of the sleeve. Oh my god, it's going to be a huge pain in the ass because there's two of them on each arm, so that means I have 4 more bushings to do. It just seems like a huge amount of fucking work. Anyway, I got the ball joint out, and I guess I could slap the new ball joints in there soon. I think these are going to stay. All of the rest of the bushings will be poly, but these ones are probably going to stay rubber. Today, I got the rest of my subframe mounts in the subframe. As you can see, I got my sway bar mounts on here. I got these ball joints installed in the rear lower control arms. I just have to get these C-clips on, and I don't have a C-clip tool, so I'm not sure yet what I'm gonna do. The problem that I had, I actually didn't figure out until I had tested and tried a whole bunch of different things, and so I would go back and forth with thinking I have the answer and not having the answer. I think I may have this diff thing figured out. It's together now. So let me explain what we're doing. I had all kinds of troubles trying to figure out what to do with these axles. Now these ones are already in here. Basically, these are what I took out of my car initially, which are stubs from a viscous limited slip. Technically this diff was from a Skyline R33 GTST. They're sort of functioning correctly. There's a couple of things that make me really skeptical about this working. The problem is that this I took off of the right side, and I don't know where the label is that I put on here, but this is actually the left side of the diff. This is not the side that this axle came out of. So that's troubling. That's number one troubling problem here. The other is that this one, of course, this being the L label, was from the opposite side when I initially took it all apart. But as you can see, it doesn't go in all the way. And I just don't know what else to do about that. I don't know what will happen putting the diff in with that axle not like seated all the way into the diff. That's obviously not correct, but I don't know what else to do. I've taken tons of measurements to try and figure out what axles are supposed to go in here. I've tried putting these ones in numerous times. I'm gonna try this and see what happens. Right now this is pretty much ready to go. I haven't actually got these bolts in here for the diff yet. This is just loose and I have to tighten these up, but you can see I've got my new bushings there. I think I've already shown you these. I have my bushings and my sway bar. These are Energy now. We are outside. I noticed watching the videos I always wear the same shirt. That's just my working on stuff shirt, so it's just what I do. Let me show you the progress where we're sitting at right now. I don't remember if I showed all this, but the subframe is in the car. You can see the diff, got an axle on both sides actually. This one, of course, I've got, most of the arms are in. I've got the, let's see, got lower control arm, got the hub sitting in here. The strut's attached, it's not actually bolted in correctly, but I got all that. I don't have the toe arm in, and that's because they're sitting over there. I'll show you that in a second. You can see my subframe mounts, poly mounts on the front. There's a bit of grease and crap sticking out of them, but that's okay. I'm not too worried about it. Should be all right. I just have the one side. The other side, that's the axle just hanging out. There's nothing in there yet. You can see the diff mounts. There we are. All kinds of poly going on here. I don't have the drive shaft connected yet, but with any kind of luck, I'll put all this stuff together today. I'll show you what I did. The toe arms have a slightly different bushing in them than the other arms have. You can see this is the bushing they have in them, and this is the bushing the toe arms have. And I didn't realize they were different. And my kit came with enough of these small ones to put in this as well, and I did. And then when I went to put it in the car, it didn't fit right in here. Oh yeah, much better. These ones were impossible to get in. I could not, personally, I couldn't shove them in there. So what I did is these bushings have a cut in the middle, and I just put in both sides and pressed them together. I hope that's okay, because I just do not feel like, I don't feel like trying to press them in, because it seemed like it was impossible. And then trying and trying again. I'm getting really frustrated with this diff, this damn car and everything about it, but diff especially. Here's the passenger side. Everything's together. I have the disc on here, but I don't have the caliper in because I need to push the piston into the caliper because it doesn't fit. On this side, I've got pretty close to the same situation. I don't have all of this torqued down yet, the other side is, but this is what happened. There's the axle flange, so there's the axle. It's just hanging out about an inch away from the outside of the differential housing. This one is in here, even though this one, if you can see here, this axle also isn't in all the way. It is solid. Like, this thing's not moving anywhere. So I don't have much fear of this axle coming out. I guess it must not be the correct axle, but I don't know. I don't know which axle is the right one. I can't figure it out. This one, I think, is pretty damn solid installed in the diff, so I'm leaving it. This one is staying in here. I don't even care. The axle's in here, it's bolted on, and it's in the diff. I'm fine with that. This side, I'm gonna go ahead and do something stupid and I'm gonna put a 6-bolt flange in here and use one of my 6-bolt axles, and maybe by some luck it'll actually work.
Trying and trying again.
Now I have a completely different setup in here. You can see on the passenger side, so that's the far side of the car from where I'm sitting. There's a 5-bolt flange, and this is the side that I am not mating really super close to the diff, which is kind of messed up, but the axle's in there, it feels solid, and it seems like it's gonna work. On this side, I've got a 6-bolt flange, which I had to buy some hardware, so that's Lowe's hardware. Probably not the best plan for your driving needs, but that's what I have. So, and it's a 6-bolt flange, which seems to mate actually pretty cleanly. If I can, there. It's in there. This axle is in much better shape. This is it. I got wheels on there. This is gonna be scary. This is a big moment. The plan is to turn on the engine and just turn the wheels. Hopefully we'll see if everything works. I haven't even started the car for about 2 months, maybe 3 months. It's been a while. So this is gonna be really exciting. Oh man, okay, it's very dirty. There we go. Okay. E-brake is off. Oh, the wheels are turning. Look at that. Oh, buddy. Let's go for a rip. Okay, here she sits on the ground. This is surreal at this moment. Oh man, I'm so scared. I don't think it's a good idea for me to be holding this, so I'll put it on the dash. Oh boy, okay. Push my mirrors out. Ugh. Okay, well, I know I look like a mess right now, but whew, she drives. I tried to film my first little drive there, but I had to stop and check some stuff. But it looks like we're okay. At this point, I think it's working. Seriously. I think pretty much everything is together, holding up. And I'm gonna go find a parking lot right now, play around with the diff a little bit and see if I can get it to kind of do what it's supposed to do and make sure it's working.
Now, to be completely honest, this is actually a good thing because I want these videos and my build in general to come across as accessible for the average person. It's something I really believe in as far as cars go, that if you have the passion and drive that you want to build a car, you want to do something special, modify or do whatever with your car, you can do it. And I'm a pretty average person, and I figured a lot of this stuff out for the first time.
All right, well, I'm back at my house, and just like I figured, things have gone wrong. The diff is messed up. Like, there's something wrong. I still don't know what the deal is with this damn thing. I moved the wheel back and forth, and there's a definite solid sound that sounds like things clanging together, and I can see everything up to the flange here is moving correctly, and that's the sound I hear. There's like a back and forth slop in there, and it's much worse on this side than it is on the other side, so that might be telling me something, but I can feel it on the other side too. I'm not sure if that's because I can feel both sides moving. Like, obviously when I turn this tire, that tire turns too. So I don't know. I don't know what exactly the problem is, but I know the diff is not working correctly. It works, honestly. It slips and it locks, and it seems to work, and it's fun. I drove about 8 miles, I think. I did some figure eights in the Walmart parking lot and did some skids. But now it's not so good.
I really wanted my videos to be accessible to the people that don't feel they are capable of doing something like this. You probably are. It's not that crazy. It just takes a lot of persistence and patience and motivation. Sometimes you just have to work hard at it and you'll be able to figure it out. And this is one of those times. So I hope it kind of makes sense. I hope you're enjoying it. Like I said, stay tuned because I'm gonna put up a lot better stuff, or at least I think it's better, soon.